Welcome back to the gospel. Man, it has been a week of football. We are going to dissect it all. And man, there's some things that are head scratching. There's some things that just are what they are. And we got to tell the truth about it because that's what we do. We'll go through it all. I'm your host, Zay, the Fantasy Football Feed. I got my guys with me. The Fantasy Nostradamus, Young Vander. Holler at the people, Young Vander.
What's going on out there?
And my guy BK wins. How did the people, BK?
What's up, everyone?
Yo, let's hop right into it, y'all. There are some things going on in the NFL that just really needs to be talked about. I'm going to start the show with something a little different. We normally go right into games. We got some information this afternoon saying that a beloved and sought after wide receiver is seeking a new home. And I'm trying to figure out what the best new home for one Devontae Adams is. Right now, there's several teams that could use his services, but it feels as if his time with the Las Vegas Raiders has come to a close. So let's go ahead and kind of spitball here a little bit. What's going to be the best home for him? I got a few teams in mind. You guys tell me if you go a completely different direction or which one of those teams would make the most sense to you. We got Buffalo needs a wide receiver. The Dallas Cowboys would love to have another wide receiver. Maybe just depending on injury, the Eagles could kind of use somebody to throw them over the top. Baltimore, if they had a true number one wide receiver with Lamar and Henry running the ball, that would be a much better situation for the Baltimore Ravens. I don't think he would put up stats that are going to kind of end his career on a high note. We know how much he loves Aaron Rodgers and Aaron Rodgers loves him. So the Jets are out there. There are some teams out there. A lot of people are kicking around Kansas City based on the injury to Rice. I don't know if the Raiders would be so inclined to trade within the division and make a team that they hate a Super Bowl contender on top of already been a Super Bowl contender. Like there's so many different ways that this can go, but I think he may have played his last game as a Raider. Vander, let's start with you. I mean, what are you thinking? Like, where does he go? What makes the most sense?
I mean, a couple of those teams you spoke of, I think, makes sense. Of course, everybody's going to say the Jets because Aaron Rodgers is there, and they're also a team that could use a wide receiver. I'm going to take you one deeper, though. I think the Washington Commanders are like a dark horse. They was in the Brandon Ayuk sweepstakes before the season started. So I think they can possibly also need another wide receiver as well. You're going to hear Steelers, which I don't think is a great he may as well stay where he at. I mean, because at the same time, he's a guy that want to get the ball. So it's not really about just winning. I think he want to win, but also, contribute as far as with the win. So I think Jets, Buffalo, maybe, but not so much. But I think the Commanders is a team no one's talking about.
I didn't think about it. If you remember, I want to say it was maybe 2 weeks ago. He said he would love to play with Jaden. I mean, so this is something that's been on the precipice of happening. He's been thinking about leaving and making it known for a minute now. We just didn't quite pick up what he was putting down, but he kind of already indicated where he would love to go play, and it wasn't in New York with the Jets. BK, what are you thinking?
Yeah, I think young Vander really hit a home run here, because I love the Commanders fit, especially with how they're playing, right? Their offense, the over is the best bet in sports right now. They're scoring a ton. He's looking great. Another toy for Daniels. He openly said, I'm happy to play there. I think another option for me and my kind of a dark horse team would be maybe like Detroit. He's familiar with the division. I know they have St. Brown, but like he would be a guy who would give them another toy to put them over the top in the NFC that's winnable. So that would be an option. I don't like the Steelers because of the quarterback play. I don't like the Jets because they're a mess. And I think Josh Allen's enjoying not having to force the ball to Diggs and actually spread the ball around more. I think it's less pressure to actually be able to find the open guy versus have to force it to the guy. And yeah, I know this last game didn't go well, but last I checked, Josh Allen doesn't play run defense. So I don't put that on him. Not going to go within the division, to your point. I would say Washington or Detroit would be the two teams I have them going to. And the other thing to not sleep on is even their head coach, Antonio Pierce, was even liked the comment when Adams posted on social media, "This is my last game," and he liked the comment. So, the coach is pretty much calling you're done. So, and he would know.
I know, BK, you were just indicating that Buffalo might not necessarily be the best landing spot based on what has happened in the past with Diggs. I think Diggs and Adams are two different attitude types or personality types, if you will. But I can tell you this, Buffalo is one of the teams that we've named that need him the most because they kind of showed that against lesser opponents, we don't need a number one wide receiver. We can get away with the journeyman being a journeyman type situation. But when they went up against a big dog, didn't look so good. So, I mean, lesser opponents, Buffalo can do what they need to do, but Baltimore showed them that they're not really where they want to be, and they're kind of fooling themselves. I don't see any of their current components taking such a monumental step that they're going to be in line with the Baltimores and Kansas Cities of the world, which if that's not what you really want and you just kind of want to be in the mix, cool. But if you're still thinking Super Bowl window, why not throw the house at a guy that can elevate your offense but won't be demonstrative as Diggs was?
So I'll say this, right? I think for me, what you're saying makes a lot of sense. I can see that. While Adams isn't a number one wide receiver, in my opinion, anymore, he would definitely help the team for sure. But I don't want to overreact to one bad Bills game. The Ravens really had to win that game. They couldn't afford to start out 1-3, especially losing a second home game in September in a tough, loaded AFC that's very competitive. The NFC is a lot more wide open, and you have some what I like to call forgiveness. You don't have that in the AFC. I just think it was a difficult situation for the Bills. It was a situational thing that favored Baltimore. Home game Monday night, or Sunday night, huge atmosphere. Everything played in their favor. It was just a tough spot for the Bills. I don't want to overreact to a team that's 3-1 and just didn't play well one day.
But the three are against teams that aren't 500, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, the three are against bottom feeders.
Neither were the Ravens till Sunday.
Wow. Yeah, touche. Vander, you feel like Adams is not a number one wide receiver anymore? Or do you feel like he has a number 4 quarterback throwing on the ball?
No, he's definitely a number one wide receiver in this league. I mean, if you go around, you can ask any wide receiver. If you go ask Justin Jefferson, who's your top 5? You go ask Jamar Chase, who's in your top 5. You go ask Garrett Wilson, who's in your top 5. They all are going to say Devonta Adams. He's like the godfather of the wide receivers. I still think he's a number one. Real quick, that popped into my head. I haven't heard this anywhere, but New Orleans Saints. He goes back with his homeboy. They was
because he wanted to play with Carr. That's right.
So
a little reunion tour.
Say it again.
Little reunion tour.
Hey, why not? I mean,
I like it.
So, I mean, I'm not sure if New Orleans is looking for a wide receiver. I mean, but hey, who knows? I mean, I think they have enough to compete this year. So why not?
Okay. That's a team that I hadn't thought about. I mean, the world may just be his oyster at this point. He may literally be picking and choosing, and then the Raiders are basically saying, this is what we want for him, either pay up or somebody else will. I think that's pretty much where we are right now with Devontae. Now, Vander, I'm going to go to you on this one first because your guy that you told everybody to look out for at the beginning of the year, I think I see why BK told me on last week. I think you may have said it too. Why he hasn't quite gotten a contract extension yet? Is Minnesota the 28 point in the first half great team, or the 3 points in the second half fake team? I don't know which Sam Darnold is the real Sam Darnold. They're undefeated. He's been great enough to get them there. But did Green Bay kind of figure something out there in the second half that other teams can build off of? Or what the heck happened between the first and second halves of that game? And is it the first half you believe more, the second half you believe more, or somewhere in between?
I think they just let off the gas a little bit. Because they actually did a flip-flop. Jordan Love started off a little slower in the first half. I think he might have threw 3 interceptions in the first half, or was it 2? I think he ended maybe with 3, but then he turned it on in the second half while Darnold started hot and then kind of cooled off. But he's leading the league in touchdown passes, if I'm not mistaken. So in Darnold, we trust.
I know he was going into the week.
Yeah,
sure.
I think he has like 11, which should be like the league leader. But nah, I think he's for real. I just think that this is just a good fit. He always been athletic. I mean, hell, he was the number 1 overall pick, right? So the talent had to be there somewhere. Somebody just was able to unlock it. I think he's for real. I mean, I'm not going to look at one half of football and I've just seen 4 weeks of football. So
true.
I'm going to say he's legit.
BK, same thing, or you're tilting the other way?
I would say this. I think it's important to point out how much coaching and supporting cast matters. You see some of these quarterbacks that struggle and they're in terrible situations. You can go back many, many years and see that, where you have to wonder, was the quarterback really all that bad, or was he set up to fail because of the ineptness around him? So in Darnold's case, look, we saw a lot of years of mediocrity. There's no way of saying that other than that. But through the first month of the season, he'd be in the argument to be the league's MVP. And so, at least in the conversation, if not the favorite, I don't think he was as great as the first half. I don't think he was as poor as the second half. I think he's in between that. But what I will say is the Vikings are a well-coached team. He's got a great supporting cast in Jefferson and Addison. He's got toys to throw the ball around. And with coaching, he's playing with confidence. It's amazing when you're confident and the game slows down and you're prepared, how much better you play. Go figure. I think he's in a great situation. For his sake, I hope it continues. It'll be interesting to see if this is a full year performance or whether we start to see some peaks and valleys that we saw this past game.
And don't forget, the rich are about to get richer because TJ Hawkinson will be back within a week or two. So a whole nother toy to play with, a little bit closer to the line of scrimmage should make life a little bit easier for him when he can't get that deep ball out there. So things are going to get, even theoretically, things should get a little bit better for Sam
Addison.
Darnold.
I mean, even Addison, if you see how
Addison wasn't there for a few weeks.
He looked great. I mean, so I mean, and then I mean, also with that defense playing as well as it is, I mean,
oh yeah,
makes it a lot easier.
You got the whole kit and caboodle right there. Good coaching, good offense, good defense, good running game. Like, to BK's point,
they're a well-oiled machine right now.
Absolutely. Now, we may have spoke on this. I know we spoke on it on the fantasy show, but is it safe to say that Chicago got it wrong? Top 3 quarterbacks as it pertains to their first 4 games are as follows: Jaden Daniels, Peyton Manning, Tom Brady. I'll say it again. Top 3 quarterbacks as it pertains to their ratings in their first 4 games: Jaden Daniels, number 1, followed by Peyton Manning and Tom Brady. Look. I'm at a loss for words of how this is turning out. I sit there and watch Caleb Williams overthrow just about every receiver that he threw the ball to. Yes, they won the game, but the defense is winning these games. Jaden Daniels is the reason that Washington is doing what they're doing right now. Not the defense. Not Brian Robinson Jr. has a lot to do with it too, because that dude is running the ball. But Jaden Daniels and this offense, the offensive coordinator, air raid offense, he I don't really even think that he's reaching the totality of the offense yet. I feel like this past week, he finally actually started letting the ball go as far as the deep ball is concerned. Once he gets that part of the air raid offense down, it's about to be scary. The only thing that can derail this guy is injury. And Vander, to Fantasy Nostradamus, I'm going to just call you the football Nostradamus, because off season, leading up, you said many occasions, I understand who's going to be picked first, but I don't think he's the best quarterback. Look, we don't have to tell you what was said. You can go back and listen to the shows. It was said multiple times. Jaden Daniels is the better guy. Everybody wanted to give every reason why Caleb Williams should be the better guy or could turn into the better guy. But listen, I said all offseason that I just didn't see it, and I didn't think he was going to be fantasy relevant or NFL relevant. It's coming to fruition. Now, granted, we're only 4 games in. Don't hear what I'm not saying. He has the opportunity based on the pieces around him to be decent, maybe even above average. But Jaden Daniels, he is not and will not be. What y'all got on that?
Oh, I mean, the kid looks good. I mean, the most impressive thing is just the accuracy. I mean, it's like a whopping like 80. It was 84, 82. That's insane. I mean,
number 1 in the NFL.
But he also was the number 1 in college last year. I mean, in a tough SEC, conference. So I'm really not that surprised, to be honest with you. I mean, the only knock on him again was the whole he takes too many big shots as far as hits, things like that. But
I even see him trying to slide now. That's all I needed to see. Give up that extra yard and slide. Please live for the next day.
I may have sent another letter and then a picture of RG3 trying to get him to slide more.
And I know that's your squad, BK. Let me ask you this, BK. Being that Washington is your team, let me ask you this question about the NFC East. Is Jaden already the best quarterback in the NFC East?
I won't go that far. And here's
who's better.
What?
Who's better?
Well,
the guy who has the most turnovers of any quarterback, which is Jalen Hurts.
So I'm gonna answer this in 2 parts, right?
Okay.
Who's the best quarterback in terms of body of work? It would be Jalen Hurts. He's had the most success in the NFL.
No, just best quarterback, not body of work, because obviously Jaden Daniels' body of work is 4 games, so that's kind of hard to compare.
The player that's playing the best is by far Jaden Daniels. Dak Prescott can't win a playoff game. He's already probably thrown 2 picks against the Niners. He's just saving them. And the Eagles are a mess. And honestly, that's all on their coaching. Sirianni and Hurts, their little kumbaya they try to do, haven't figured it out. They haven't figured it out. And as a result of that, they're a mess. But Daniels is the better quarterback. He's the quarterback I would want to have in the NFC East. And if the Commanders, my fault. I went back to the glory days. If the Commanders had any semblance of a defense, they would be a huge favorite to win this division this year, because the Cowboys, they have Mike McCarthy. And Have I mentioned they have Jerry Jones and Mike McCarthy? Let me just mention they got Jerry Jones and Mike McCarthy. And Jalen Hurts has already turned the ball over too. Him and Prescott are having a contest to see who can turn it over faster. And the Giants are just trash. So they if this was soccer, they'd be relegated. But yeah, I love Daniels. To what Vander said, he's right as usual. This isn't even a discussion if the Bears screwed up. There's 3 guarantees in life. Death, taxes, and the Bears don't know how to draft. So I've already sent multiple thank yous to the front office. They don't know what they're doing. Mitch Trubisky 2.0. Look, Caleb Williams can't read defenses. He wasn't good at doing it in college against the better defenses. He really struggled, and he got knocked around and turned the ball over. He's still turning the ball over. The defense has them won 2 games already for them against not good competition. Daniels is the reason why that team is winning. But also, please don't undermine the fact that much better coaching, much better supporting cast, and great play calling has put him in a position to succeed. I give the Washington organization, who for the last 15 years was miserable under Dan Snyder, they're a whole lot better. Look out.
And the beautiful thing about it is this. What Daniels does for Washington, he allows them to turn their attention to the defense. They don't have to draft a single offensive player in the offseason based on what he can do with the limited offensive players that they have now. The other thing that's going to happen in Washington is they're going to have free agents that are now willing to play. You already saw it with Devontae Adams. Put it out there. I'd love to be able to play with this guy. You no longer have to make your draft picks about the offense unless you're trying to get some offensive linemen, which is never a bad time to get a young offensive lineman that you think is going to work out. But they can really focus on the defense. And if their defense is even 50% of what the offense is, Washington's about to take this division for the foreseeable future. And I'm not being a prisoner of the moment, but we know what Dallas is. They're regular season warriors. They don't do anything in the playoffs. The Giants are about to hit the reset button yet again. The Eagles can't get out of their own way. Saquon ain't going to be healthy but for so long. Hurts is going to turn the ball over 2-3 times a game. Sirianni's probably about to be out of there. They're about to have a little bit of a turnover, if you will, or a little bit of churn, if you will, out there in Philly. You couldn't ask for better timing for Washington. Like it's all things are coming together, and the synergy of the situation is just mind-blowing. Like, BK, I love it for you, been a long-suffering Washington fan, because barring injury, I don't think you can go wrong. Like, whichever direction you go in, you're going to make a great offense better, or you're going to make a so-so defense better to attempt to match the offense. And either you could have a Houston Texans type of turnaround just like that. And that's kind of what I'm seeing right now from them.
Well, I think for me, and then I'll turn it over to Vander because I really want to hear what he has to say about this. But as a fan, I'll just say this. After watching overall the last 10 or 15 years of miserable football, it's just exciting to watch a fun team that's enjoyable to watch. Like, they're fun to watch. And after watching a lot of awful football, it's refreshing to watch a team that every week you're like, hey, I know our defense is not the best, but we have a chance to win. And that's not something that could be said very often there. So, Vander, what do you think?
I mean, firstly, I want to say the time has come where it's time to change this team name back to the Redskins. Okay, let's just stop it. This Commander thing got to go. It's the Redskins. You know what I'm saying? I'm putting in. We got to vote. You know what I'm saying? We got to get the team name back to the Redskins. But this team is definitely heading in the right direction. I mean, the defense. The only thing's missing is the personnel. They got the right guy. I think Quinn is great for this. Think about it. They traded all their guys away. I mean, all the defensive linemen they had, they traded everybody away. So I think it's going to take a little time to get the right guys in place. I think you're gonna see one of those things where a lot of former Quinn guys, whether Seattle, whether even Cowboys, when time comes up, they're gonna jump ship. Don't be surprised if Michael Parsons is in a Washington jersey.
I was just about to say that. Yes, sir. You're on point right there.
So being that they paid Dak, they paid Lamb, money is getting thin, and guess what? I got a spot for you. Come on up here to Chocolate City. Come to Washington, D.C. You know what I'm saying?
And they're not paying their quarterback right now, so they're going to have the money to be able to do it.
The time is now. So for the next maybe 3 years, they're going to be loading the guys in as far as contracts because you're not paying the quarterback. The best time to win a Super Bowl in this league is when your quarterback is under a rookie contract.
Whoa. Super Bowl. I have not heard that in Washington associated with each other. I don't
Since
know
the 90s.
in my football lifetime.
Since the 90s.
But I mean, man, but I can't be mad at you.
And the funny thing about that, the last time they won a Super Bowl, that quarterback is on the sideline. They're also mentoring, Doug Williams, I believe, is the last time they won, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he was also a black quarterback, probably knows a little bit about everything about what this guy's going through. I think the thing in the draft process that people kind of overlook Daniels is he's a mobile quarterback. So it's this stigma where if you can run, you can't throw. And I think if you look at the last bit of mobile guys we've seen come through, whether it's Hurts, whether it's Lamar, whether it's Josh Allen, this is the best passer out of everybody that I've seen. As far as guys that can actually run, he got the best arm that goes with the legs as a combination. Now RG3 was a good one as well. We just didn't see a lot of it. But as far as can do both, I think he got the best combination with the both that I've seen. Because one usually is one that's a little bit more than the other as far as legs to arm. But I think as far as the ratio, I think he has the best combination.
And one thing you always point out, Vander, and I agree with this wholeheartedly, and I think this is an important distinction. Think about the competition that Daniels played in the SEC. We all know that's the toughest football conference. He wasn't playing, the little sissies of the poor in these directional schools and piling up stats. And I'm not trying to rain on Caleb Williams' parade, but there's not many teams that were good in the Pac-12, and very few of them play defense. Outside of Utah, none of them play defense. So, I think we'll all agree that teams like Georgia and Bama defense. And so, I think that matters. And, we want to give neighbors and this kind of thing all the credit and how great they were at wideout. But who was the person throwing the ball? Oh yeah, Daniels. And they were scoring a lot of points all the time. And it just, the other thing I will point out that Vander's point about the Redskins. So I've been hearing through some of my little insider groups that I'm part of that they have been talking about bringing back that team name.
Yes, I mean,
okay.
It's time.
I know. I saw a few posts where it was saying like the person who the original mascot was kind of patterned after, like his people are actually trying to push for. They were actually trying to sue to make it go back, and this was kind of one of those cancel culture, make it happen things. But actual Native Americans didn't have a problem with it. So I don't, or at least that's what I've seen.
My thing with that is this: they don't have a problem with it, but you can't single out Washington, and Florida State is still the Seminoles. The Seminoles down there, Florida said we cool with it. Kansas City Chiefs. I mean, like there's still some Native American mascots sprinkled around. I mean, hockey, the Blackhawks. I mean, like you see it everywhere. So I'm confused on why they singled out Washington out of all of
So the supposed distinguishing factor was Redskins is more of a description or slur versus Blackhawks is the actual tribe. The Seminoles are an actual tribe.
okay.
That was supposed to be the big hoopla. And again, I don't know enough Native Americans to be able to say, hey, is this offensive? Like how do the people that are supposedly offended actually feel about the conversation behind it? A lot of times we will, in some circumstances, bypass the people that are supposedly offended and just listen to the people that are fake offended. So I don't know. I don't know which side of the line this comes down on, but everything that I've seen is that some of the actual Native American tribes were kind of upset about the fact that the name went away from being the Redskins. But again, I don't know, but that was the logic behind it. Everyone else that you named was kind of like a tribe. Now the Chiefs, they aren't. It's not a tribe, but it's also not a description of a feature of that particular group of people, if you will.
So, man, real quick before BK. So, but those same people, that's not even the people of that. How are you not defended by they're at the game and they're chopping, saying, "Oh, that's not that should be offensive." Than Redskins. I mean, this is really like you see what I'm saying?
How do you outlaw that? You can't outlaw the fans from saying like good luck with that. You know what I'm saying?
Like come on, man. We became too sensitive as a people as the years keep going. But.
So I'm going to try to keep this brief because we don't have a 3-hour show. I must have missed the part in American history. And look, for all of you out there, for those 25 people that are offended by the team names, less than 1%. I must have missed the part where less than 1% of the population out there is bothered or offended by something, and we're rushing to change something. I think if we're really being honest about this, the reason why the Redskins got called under the carpet for this is because the hatred for Dan Snyder. Nobody liked him, and he was an easy target for it. And rightfully so with how he ran things he said, how he operated, the harassment that he allowed within the organization. There's a lot of reasons to not like Dan Snyder, and I think he was an easy target. But even like the Indians, right? You have a team name for 100 years. For 100 years, it was okay or not much of an issue. And all of a sudden, now it's a problem. And I'm going to simply say this. While I'm never a fan of intentionally offending someone, right? At the end of the day, if our biggest problem in our country, which we both know this is not breaking news. We both know that a team name, if that was our biggest problem, then okay. But we both know we have much bigger issues in our country than what a team name is. Move on and stop wasting time about something that truly doesn't matter.
See, but I'll say this just to play devil's advocate, okay, BK? We're all gentlemen of a certain age. None of us are a part of or based on conversation right now understand cancel culture. And that's the generation, if you will, that said, hey, you shouldn't be able to say that. Don't do that. Don't go there. That's combined with, again, as you said, Snyder being who and how he is or was, however you want to frame that, it made it a very, and here's the other thing too, and I may be being cynical right now. I'm going to say this kind of low. If they were winning at the time, I don't think they would have changed the name. I feel like some of the people in the office almost felt like it was a curse. Like it was just so many things came into play at the same time that it was just like, okay, maybe if we do this, we'll be polarizing enough that we can make some money off of the positive change that we made because we aren't making any money by being a good team. I think that was a part of it too, because Dan Snyder did nothing that anybody told him to do except that. So let's just kind of call that thing a thing as well.
I think the real thing that put Snyder under the microscope, or he felt the pressure, is he was going to lose the stadium rights, and so they, between stadium rights and the merchandise, they put pressure on all aspects to force his hand out. What do we know that drives almost everything? Money and politics.
Money.
So
money. At the end of the day, if it ain't making dollars, it ain't making sense. Listen, BK, you brought up two teams that we're going to go ahead and segue over into college ball, because my goodness, Georgia versus Alabama, instant classic, best game I can recall seeing as of late. That includes championship games, this 14 playoffs that we had up until this year. I don't recall seeing a better game. As impressed as I was by Bama on the front end, that's as impressed as I was by Georgia on the back end and actually making it a game. Like, it was ridiculous. Like, I'm going to say this, and you're going to have to pull up the tape to ever hear it again, because I'll never say it again. The best three teams in college football don't include my Buckeyes. They're all in the SEC. Texas, Georgia, and Alabama are the best three teams in college football. And I know that the Buckeyes didn't lose. I know that Georgia lost, and I know that they moved to number 5. They aren't the 5th best team in college football right now. And even in that loss, they showed that they had to kind of get used to what Alabama brought to the table. But if those two teams went up against each other again, I don't know that Georgia wouldn't win, because Kirby Smart figured it out, to his credit. By the time the game was nearing its end, if you will. Here's the other thing. This is the scary part. I don't know that Alabama isn't better now than they were before. I know that may be sacrilegious to all the Sabanites out there, but Bama may be better. They focus on more than just I kind of felt like in past iterations, they focused a whole lot on defense, and their offense just couldn't mess up. They had a lot of the hog mollies up front that kind of made it easy for running backs, that gave the quarterback 15 seconds to pass the ball, which is why you don't see very many Alabama quarterbacks doing very well in the NFL, because they don't have the time to throw the ball that they had behind that O-line going up against other teams. But right now, again, I really feel that Alabama, Georgia, and Texas, I mean, Texas might have two of the best quarterbacks in all of college football. That's a great problem to have. Like, I hope that by the end of the season, when the playoffs roll around, when my Buckeyes get ready to win this championship this year, because don't hear what I'm not saying, the Buckeyes will win by hook or by crook. We're going to figure it out. But right now, the SEC is on top. And what we do on this show is we tell the truth and nothing but the truth. I got to put it out there like it is. And I would have hour-long conversations with people about the SEC and Big 10, the Big 20, whatever it is right now. I really wish they changed the name. Different conversation for a different day. But I can't say that the Buckeyes should be ranked where they are. And I can definitely say we can even go down to Kentucky. Ole Miss. Like there's some in the SEC right now.
Where have you been? This is not breaking news. Like, the top 3 teams is always usually in the SEC.
No.
There's been times when LSU was on top. Georgia,
They
Alabama.
didn't start out on top. They ended up on top.
No. They had their years where they was on top. Not only when Saban was there, when Kelly was there, and then when O was there. They had good seasons, good years. They just won a championship with Burrow. That was not long ago. They had their time.
That wasn't the team that people saw as being a championship team until they got there. That wasn't like they weren't on. They weren't on top until they were on top, though. I mean, like
LSU has had
4 of the season, nobody was saying that LSU was going to win this championship.
LSU has had great teams over the years. I mean, great teams.
Sure they have. Yeah.
Auburn has had their time in the sun.
Sure.
Alabama and Georgia is just like definite. So what I'm saying is,
Alabama is definite. Georgia's been definite since Kirby Smart, but they ain't always been. Let's not.
Hold on. No. Before Kirby Smart, there was who? Mark Richt. Mark Richt was a pretty good coach and had some really good teams.
They weren't dominant like they are now, though.
No, Mark Richt was a goodie. He was a good one.
I'm not saying he wasn't good, but they weren't great.
But what I'm saying is, you saying top 3 like this is so surprising. Like, no, I'm telling you,
it is.
It's not, because if you've been watching college football, I guarantee you, out of
one of the top teams in the SEC just joined the SEC now.
Forget them. Texas wasn't winning since Vince Young. But what I'm saying is this: in college football in the last couple of years, the top 5 teams, 4 of them in the SEC. It's like
Michigan won the championship last year.
Who?
They cheated though, and I don't really like them. So okay, that's fine. Whatever.
Like the SEC been running football for a long time now. So
no, I give you that.
And it's always been 3 or 4 great teams in the SEC, and then you have that one team in another conference where there's
I don't think they've been the 3 best teams. I'm not saying they didn't have 3 good teams.
Again, I'm not surprised by it.
3 best teams?
Yeah.
I can't say that.
I guarantee you, if you go look at the last 15 years of football, the top 5 teams, 3 of them are SEC teams. I guarantee it.
No, I said the best 3 the top.
Okay,
3,
so
not
what I'm
3 of the top 5.
But that's not.
3.
But what I'm telling you, that's not far fetched. What you're saying, because any given season, the top 5 is 3 of them at least SEC teams, maybe even 4. Every now and then you see Ohio State, the Oregons.
Every now and then. The only time we can't
they'll sneak in. They'll sneak in, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part,
Ohio State don't sneak in. Ohio State's been in the 14 playoff pretty much almost every year.
Yeah, they're cool. They're cool, but still the SEC. But going back to the game, firstly, I need Ryan Williams drug tested right away. I need him drug tested right away. You know what I'm saying? This kid is 17
years old.
Dude is 17 years old. We all in here old enough to be his dad. And I see him catch a ball, did a Nexie Kerrigan move, and run. Like, I mean, ballerina. Like I was like, but I'm pretty sure in some way these teams are gonna see each other again. Maybe 2 more times. I can see them maybe in the SEC championship. And guess what? If it go to a playoff, they probably end up seeing each other again. The ratings was out. The ratings were great. This is probably the best 2 teams in football. So I'm pretty sure we're going to see this match 2 more times. This is going to be like
12-team playoff. You can't lose to the best and be out of the top 12. Even if Georgia lost to Bama again in the SEC championship, it would probably be the number 1 team going against probably the number 3 team, and then the number 3 team fall into like 5, 6, 7, 8.
Yeah,
you can't lose your way out of the. That's why I love this new playoff setup, because you aren't penalizing great teams. You're saying let's see who has the best Saturday this go round, and I can't wait. I think they're going to turn it into a 16 team. Give it 2 years.
This is a trilogy. This is before BKO. This is going to be a trilogy. You heard it here first. This is a trilogy. These teams are going to play each other 2 more times this year. I guarantee.
Let me ask you this before we roll over to BK. If it's a trilogy, who wins the 2 out of the 3? Or do we think Bama wins 3 out of the 3?
I wouldn't say that, because Georgia just came out a little sluggish. The second half, they turned it on now. Like they got back.
Georgia to win the next 2. If they
so,
start out the way they ended up, I don't know that Bama can hang with them.
Yeah.
Great conversation to have. What you think, BK?
I needed to get some popcorn. Where's my snacks? My producer didn't bring me snacks. What's going on? All joking aside, that was great stuff. So a couple things. The SEC's won 13 of the last 18 titles. So that's almost 2 decades body of work that says, where things land. I will say this though, it wouldn't be me if I didn't sneak in the Yankees a little bit. We talked with the Yankees. We talked about the core four, right? Rivera, Posada, Jeter, that kind of deal. So the core four, I still include the Buckeyes in the best four. Let's not lose sight of the fact that it's a long season. Georgia, a week ago, looked pedestrian against Kentucky, right? The same Kentucky team that won in Oxford for the first time since 1978. Then we look at the fact that the Buckeyes haven't played anybody, so we don't know. But Texas didn't play well for 3 quarters against an awful Mississippi State team that you, me, and 8 friends could roll up. So there's a reason why they were a 39-point underdog, and it's not because the Bulldogs were good. So they were really sluggish for 3 quarters at home and then turned it on in the 4th quarter. Alabama, their last game, they crapped their pants for 3 quarters, 14-13, and then with 7.5 to play, it was 21-16 at home against USF, right? Like, it happens in college football. I think the one takeaway for me, there's 2 things that I want to point out. One, Georgia has an Alabama problem. Much like I made the argument that Baltimore and Lamar Jackson has a Mahomes and Kansas City Chief problem, there's a reason why Lamar is 1-5 against the Chiefs. They can't beat Reed and Mahomes. Georgia, they see that uniform. They can't beat Bama. 1-6 now, Kirby Smart against Alabama. And the thing that really hurt, and we talked about it on our other shows, the reason why Georgia struggled in the first half, they're used to Nick Saban. Kalen DeBoer is a whole different animal. He has a different mindset. He has a different offensive philosophy. He will go for the jugular. And you saw them score early and often, and they confused Carson Beck and forced him into mistakes. It's a different animal. And again, I'm not saying that Alabama is better than Georgia. They were on that Saturday night in Tuscaloosa for sure. What I will say is Georgia sees that jersey, and they don't play as well. They're 43-3 in their last 46 games under Kirby Smart. Guess who those 3 losses were to? I'm not saying. I'm just saying.
But not only that, don't forget who showed up, who they called to come in. Saban was still around. So this new coach may be Batman, but Saban is Alfred. You know what I'm saying? So he need his he need to get the special suit and the special gadgets. Like he's like a special consultant, and he came in specifically for this game. So like BK said, man, they just got them boys' number. I mean,
we talked a little bit about Kentucky. Kentucky beats Ole Miss. Is Kentucky for real, or is Ole Miss fake news? They gave Georgia all they could handle. I don't know which way to lean. Then, if I'm not mistaken, didn't Carolina beat Kentucky? So how are we looking at this? First, how are we looking at Kentucky? And then how are we looking at Ole Miss?
So I won't say a whole lot. I'll turn it over to Vander here in just a second. Kentucky is Kentucky. And what I mean by that is they got blown out by South Carolina. which, by the way, was a BK best bet. Carolina +10 at Kentucky. When they looked really bad against Old Dominion like they did, and we were calling for like already ready to cancel the season here in Columbia, give it a week, right? They played a whole lot better against Kentucky. Kentucky played great against Georgia. But remember how Georgia's played the last 3 years in their first conference road game. They barely beat Missouri. They barely beat Auburn. They barely beat Kentucky this go-around. By the way, you know the last 3 point totals Georgia has at Kentucky? 16, 14, 13. So it's not like they've been rolling up points against Kentucky in any of their last 3 visits. That's a 6-year span, by the way, not a 1 or 2 year or 3 year span. But Ole Miss is what they are. Now, the one thing I will say is Kiffin usually beats all the teams they're supposed to and struggles against the bigger batter boys like Kentucky, Alabama, and Georgia. But Ole Miss doesn't play great defense. Jackson Dart's not that great of a quarterback. They looked great against running up these directional schools, but Kentucky was able to run the ball, control the game, and shorten the game. Their game plan was great, and to be honest, Kiffin got outcoached. He got outcoached.
You on the same page, man?
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it brief. But I think Kentucky is. I mean, it's a Stoops, right? So Stoops is there, right? He's gonna do just enough. I mean, they're still in a division where they're not gonna be not gonna take over any time. Right. But I do think this is a legit team. I mean, I understand Georgia, on the road first ACC, but they played them to 1 point. They won that game by 1 point. And this is a tough Georgia team. So I think Kentucky is the real deal. I mean, as far as not real deal as far as tier in the SEC, but still a team that's going to fight, scratch and claw, and give you a competitive game. They do have some later games this season. They got to play Texas, so they got to play Tennessee. So we're gonna really see where they're at. I just think they're just a good, tough team, but not really a team that's really going to contend from years to come. They kind of in the tier with South Carolina, if that makes sense. So every now and again, you'll see South Carolina beat Georgia, and everybody runs on the field, knock the bushes down, and do all that. But at the same time, South Carolina's going to end up playing in the CarQuest Bowl, right? So I think that's what Kentucky's going to be. It's going to be a team that's probably going to get to a bowl game, not a nice bowl game, probably the furniture.com bowl game, but they're going to every now and again upset a team or get a dub here or there in a tough SEC conference. So yeah, they're the real deal, but still not the real deal.
I'm about to put both of y'all on the spot right quick. Tell me what team you would compare Kentucky to in the Big Ten.
See, I don't think that's fair, man. Let me tell you something. Okay. Michigan State.
Okay.
I would say Illinois.
Illinois, okay.
And not because of
Illinois is 4-0 right now. So I mean that's not a slight.
Kentucky.
No, Illinois just lost, right?
Yeah, Penn State.
Yeah, they did lose. They lost to Penn State. My fault. Yeah, they lost to Penn State.
But Illinois covered.
Yeah.
Shout out.
Yeah. Hey, remember I was saying, ask me this question after the Penn State game, right?
Man,
so they played
well enough.
They did. They just couldn't stop the run. You know what I'm saying? And Penn State played good defense, but I mean, they played it well enough to win the game. I'll tell you that. But I think they'd be
more importantly, they played well enough to cover the spread. Let's not gloss over that. But to Vander's point, right? He's right. I think for them, not only could they not stop the run, but they really had a hard time moving the ball and scoring points. You're not going to ever go to Penn State and win scoring 7. Like that's not going to happen. Like you're good, especially with the weapons that Penn State has. Like they have a lot of toys over there. They're going to score points. You can't score 7 and win.
All right, y'all. I'm gonna let you know now. This last topic we're gonna talk about. If it was my team, my TV probably would have been broken, and I would have been hitting the credit card the next day to get another big screen. I'm gonna just be honest with you. What in the world was the replay officials thinking in the Virginia Tech game going up against Miami? First of all, there were several pass interference calls that Virginia Tech should have got that they didn't. And then, in the interest of full transparency, I don't know that it was a catch. What I do know is it was called a catch on the field, and there wasn't enough video evidence to overturn it. There was no angle that you saw that gave you a definitive view to say that you should overturn the call on the field. And I really feel like the referees had to keep Miami or the ACC in general afloat in this game, because the whole division would have been in turmoil had Miami ended up losing that game, because their box office for the ACC right now, if you consider that to be any type of box office. But there is no way in the world, there's no other time that you overturn that call. Not based on, here's the reason, here's how you messed up. You don't play 5 minutes of video showing us that there is no overturnable evidence and then turn around and overturn the call. I'm confused. If I'm Virginia Tech, I know once the game is over, it's over, but I want this investigated. I want to know why several times they committed pass interference and the referee looked the other way. Stevie Wonder could have seen some of these calls, and the referees are just like, nah, we good. Miami got to win this one. I'm sorry. I ain't seen nothing. We're going to Ray Charles to this one. Like, what are we doing right now? I don't understand. And I'm not, if this had happened to a bigger school or in a bigger game, I really feel like it would have been talked about quite a bit more. But Virginia Tech got robbed. Plain and simple, they got robbed. Or do y'all feel any different? That's my truth. I'm sorry. I didn't see any angle that they should have been able to overturn that call. I just did.
No, I'm with you 100%. I mean, like you said before, if the call was made a touchdown on the field, I think, like you said, I don't think enough evidence to overturn it. It seemed like he caught the ball and body was kind of just down. And then people start, pulling at the ball, mixing around a little bit. But maybe it was the Lucchese family, Billy Blanco from the Bronx. Somebody made the call, Vegas, and was like, you lose your arms if you know what I'm saying? I got money riding on this, you know what I'm saying? And then they call, and then the referees just storm out the stadium, you know what I'm saying? But in all honesty, I think this, like you said, whatever it was called on the field, it didn't seem like enough evidence to overturn the call. And I think it should just remain a touchdown. It was, I don't know. It was a bang play, but at the same time, it seemed like the dude had the ball. It didn't touch the ground or anything. He was down with it, but then the defenders started kind of punching at it, but he was already down on his butt side, backside with the ball in hand. So it seemed like a touchdown to me.
BK, tell me I'm not tripping.
No, you're right. You're both right. And here's why. You, poor Zay, has heard me almost weekly on the Gospel Sports Tooth podcast blast the officiating week after week after week. And my brother always tells me, if you have the technology to get the call right, why wouldn't you use it? And in theory, that's true. But like I always go back and say, time after time after time, the replay booth looks at it and still F's up the call. So if the call on the field was a touchdown, there's no indisputable evidence to overturn said call, which there clearly was, which is why it took 5 minutes of angles to still come to the same conclusion. Then what are we doing? What I will say is clearly the best NIL money that Miami spent was on Cam Ward. The second best NIL money they spent was on those officials because those refs got paid.
Hey, I think this is, I mean, at this point, man, in the near future, it's going to be AI. It's going to be some robot. They're going to have to get more detail. I mean,
you would
they got
think
all the
they
different,
would, but do they really want to? I don't know if they want to take that power away from the referees. If it's really tied to Vegas, like we think it is, and you put it on AI, you no longer have any control. And I don't think that there would be no reason to not already do that right now if that's what you want.
So I'm going to give you guys a little take here, and I'm curious what you all think. And forgive me because I may or may not throw up in my mouth as I say this. But if I grab the crystal ball, and I would have not said this after week 1, I actually think there's another orange team in the ACC that is the best team this year in that conference. And that's the team a little bit elsewhere in the state because I just call them the orange team because I don't like saying their name. And I say this because to me, Miami still got Cristobal, which is the equivalent to having Mike McCarthy. He'll find a way to F up a game or two. And secondly, Virginia Tech's a mediocre team. Like, they got outplayed at home as a 3-touchdown favorite. And had the refs not played really, really hard and showed up, Miami would have a loss. But thankfully, the refs were ranked and Miami shouldn't have been. No, just kidding. Miami should have been ranked. But you get my point. I just think that it exposed Miami to the flaws that they have. I don't think they're as good as what their ranking is.
No.
And their defense isn't great. And they got exposed against a mediocre team. If they played a better quality competition, and I do think the other orange team would give them fits, I just think that Miami's not quite as good as they're made out to be.
And that about wraps it up for this show. You guys make sure you find us on YouTube at The Gospel STP. You can find us on Facebook, The Gospel Sports Truth Facebook group. Make sure you check out the Gospel Fantasy Football Show on tomorrow and the day after on Friday. Make sure you check out the Gospel Sports Truth podcast for this evening. We're out. And remember, tell the truth.
And hey, I might not be at any more shows because I'm going to tailgate for the Super Bowl thanks to Vander.
He said, all right, y'all. We catch y'all tomorrow.
Later, y'all.